कया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महागणान्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूप स्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जन्माद्यस्य तोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थेषु तेने ब्रह्म हृदय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। स्वस्ति अस्तु विश्वस्य खलः प्रसीदतां ध्यायन्तु भूतानि शिवं मिथो धिया। मनश्च भद्रं भजता दधोक्षजे आवेश्यतां नो मतिरोऽप्यहेतुकी। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, chapter number 7, beginning from verse number 29. So these are verses which are spoken by Prahlad to his classmates, who was instructing them about devotion. And in the previous verse we read where he explained that devotion to Lord is easily available because Lord is everywhere and one does not have to do anything special. One can even hear, chant or remember. So therefore he said that what is the use of spending so much time in acquiring various objects for such pleasure which give only very limited happiness. So he continues in the same vein. He says, Raya kalatram pashva sutadayo grihamahi kunjara kosha bhutayaha sarvertha kama kshana bhangurayushaha kurvanti martyasya kiyat priyam chala. Says, how much happiness actually can you derive from these material objects? And he lists them. He says, Raya means wealth. So wealth is very important. People work very hard for that, thinking that wealth will give happiness. And then Kalatra is wife or husband. So you also get married or have partners these days. Marriage is not so much in fashion. Living together as partners and thinking that together people will be happy. But that also does not work so well. And then next he says is Pashava, animals. In the past there were no cars. So people used to have horses, or bulls, cows, thinking that can travel with them. get milk. And Sutadayo, some people also try to have children for happiness. But as they grow, then you realize what kind of happiness you get from them. And Griha, have a house, you have to pay tax. And insurance, and bills, and Mahi, land. So fights for that also. Kunjara Kosha Bhutaya, and elephants. If you are really rich, then like people have some Mercedes or Rolls Royce. In the past they used to have elephants. That was the symbol of being really rich. Somebody had an elephant. Horse itself was also a sign of wealth. But if you have elephant, then you're really rich. So Kosha Bhutaya, and then other wealth ornaments. Sarvartha Kama Shana Bhangurayusha Kurvanti Murtasya Kiyat Priyanchana. So they say that all these objects and wealth, both of them, either you have wealth or you have objects which you acquire from wealth, he says that they are Kshan Bhangura. They can be destroyed anytime. Anybody can lose anything anytime, including your own life, said Ayusha. So even our life is not guaranteed that we will live so many years. You see people dying all the time. And if life is not there, then what happiness can we have? So Kurvanti Martyasya Kiyat Priyam Chalam. So he says how much pleasure actually you can derive from all these objects which are temporary. So obviously you cannot get permanent happiness from temporary objects. Anything which is temporary cannot give you anything permanent. So all the objects are temporary. So you cannot expect stable or permanent happiness from them. And even if the object is not lost or destroyed, it is always changing. If you have relatives, they are not always young. You fall in love with somebody, become attracted to someone's beauty. That beauty is also temporary. And after some time the beauty goes away. If you are attracted to somebody's wealth, wealth is also temporary. So many people they lose their wealth. So he is asking this question that how much can you expect from all this? And in the midst of all this you are permanent. You are eternal. But everything else around you, beginning from your body, is temporary. So therefore, if we want eternal happiness, it can only come from somebody who is eternal, not something or somebody who is temporary. So eternal is God, and therefore from Him only we can get eternal happiness. This is the logic which He is applying. So Sri Vishnu Chakravarti says, Nacha kaminam vashayikam sukhamapi vastuto asti ityaha rayo dhanani arthasya kamas. So he says that materialistic people, they are always running after material happiness. So he says that this material happiness is not real. And then he explains that how all these material objects, wealth, etc., they themselves are flickering in their existence. Evam hi loka kratubhi pratami Shaishnava satisayana nirmala tasmad drishta sutadushanam param bhakti kesham bhajatatmalabdhaye. So he says that in this way, whatever you achieve by your actions, it is only temporary. Because if the cause is temporary, the effect will also be temporary. And if your action is temporary, but it's not eternal, then the result which comes from that is also not eternal. So, some people may say, well, we perform yajna, sacrifices, and then by doing sacrifice you can go to heaven. So he says that heaven also is not eternal. Heaven is also temporary. And there are levels or gradations of happiness in heaven also. So then you become also disturbed when you see someone else enjoying more than you. So in heaven also there is a competition. Some people are having more pleasure than others. So those who are inferior, they are envious of those who are superior. And therefore instead of enjoying, they are only burning inside. Because envy is something which burns without fire. When there is fire, fire burns the dead body. Right? Somebody dies, in India we take the dead body and we put a fire and burn it. Envy is that which burns the living body. Because you burn inside. You don't like somebody is progressing, and there is a feeling of burning inside. So that envy is there in the heaven also. Because in heaven there are gradations. It says Satik Shaya, then Nirmala. Therefore the pleasures there are also not pure. They are also mixed with suffering. So there is no pure happiness in the material world. Every happiness is mixed with some suffering. And every happiness brings conditioning here. Because whatever you enjoy, then you become slave of that enjoyment. You lose your freedom. Anything you enjoy, you lose your freedom to that object. And losing freedom is suffering. So all material happinesses are like that. So if you enjoy some food, you become slave of that food. If you take something, you become addicted to that, then also you have to suffer for that. Because you become dependent on that. And it is not possible to get everything all the time. Sometimes you do not get, and you have the desire, then what do you do? So this is what is called conditioning. And conditioning brings loss of independence. And loss of independence brings unhappiness, frustration. You feel dejected, sad, or you lament. So therefore he is saying that Ami Chaishnava Sadhu Shayana Nirmala. So therefore what is to be done? He says Tasmad Adrushta Shuta Dushanam Param Bhaktya Ekya Isham Bhajtatmalam. So he says therefore don't be disturbed by what you have heard or experienced. Because many things we have experienced in our life and we want to experience them again. Some pleasures. And some things we have not experienced but we have heard. That if you go to so and so place, it's very nice. I went there, you should also go. Like people always travel. So he says you give up all this and just perform devotion service. Become a lover of God. Bhaktya Ekya Isham Bhastad Atmalabdhaya. And by this you realize yourself, you realize God, and you will be eternally happy. So this is the instruction which is being given by Prahlad to his friends. Swargadi bhogapi na sevarha itya. He says that the pleasures in heaven, they are also not worthy to acquire. Why? Chaishnava, because they are also temporary. So yatheha karmachito loka kshiyate evameva amutra punyachito loka kshiyate. So just like the pleasure you acquire here by your actions here are lost after some time, then heaven is also lost in the same way, because heaven is also an outcome of your actions. So anything achieved by material action is temporary. And punya tartamyena satishaya spardhadi matyatvat. And some people do more pious deeds than you, so they get a better heaven. Because heaven is not only one, there are many heavens, various grades of heavens. So those who have done better pious activities than you, they get a better heaven. And then you feel envious of them, you feel jealous. And nirmala, and even then those pleasures are not completely pure. So therefore we should only do devotional service. Atma labdhaye, atma kartrik hari praptaye, paramatma praptaye. So therefore we should make an effort only to realize God. This is what he teaches to his friends. Yadva atma रूप रत्नस्य प्राप्तये अन्यथा तत्स्वर्ग नरकादि कर्दमे चित्तम नष्टमेव ज्ञानित. So he says that the real thing to be acquired is your own self, which is now lost in ignorance. We know so many things, but we don't know our own self. And therefore we are always in ignorance. It's like you are lost in the forest. You know where you have to go, but you don't know where you are. So what will you do? You want to go to your home, but you don't know which direction you have to go, because you don't know where you stand. So when you have your GPS in your car, then first thing it tells you you are here. Right? It tells you on which street you are. Because if you don't know in which street you are, then how do you know how you have to go? You take left or you take right, or you go front or back. Maybe you have to take a U-turn. So you have to know your destination, and you also have to know where you are. Then you can walk. So we live in this material world. Our destination is we want to be happy. That everybody wants. Nobody has any confusion about that. But we don't know where we stand, who we are, and where we are. So therefore he says that we perform this Bhaktya Eke Ayusham Bhajtatma Labdha. That you worship the Lord with one-pointed devotion, so that you will realize yourself, you will realize Him also. So that is the most important thing to know yourself. And if you don't know yourself, you don't know anything. You may be very learned, scholarly, but you are ignorant. Because you are lost in the forest. You may know the map of Paris, but you don't know how to go there because you are in the forest, you don't know which side to go. So first thing is to know yourself. And therefore he says, Bhaktya Ekya Isham Bhajtat Atmalabdhe. That you worship the Lord. Yadadhyarthyeha karmani vidvan manas Manya sakrinnaraha karoti yato viparyasam amogham vindate phalam. So now somebody can say that why are you speaking so harshly? In this material world there are many intelligent people, right? People who are Nobel laureate scientists, they have high IQ. And and they're very smart, they can answer your questions. You ask them, they have answers. So why do you think that people are not intelligent, they are ignorant? So he said, yes, there are many people who think they are intelligent. But the sign of intelligence is, what is the sign of intelligence? That there should be a smile on your face. No? Then what? There should be money in your pocket. Some people say sign of intelligence is money in your pocket, right? Some people say like that seems good. But if you have money in your pocket and you are miserable, now what? There are many people who have money and they are not happy. Many rich people commit suicide. So therefore, sign of intelligence is happiness, right? That is the first thing Krishna teaches in Bhagavad Gita. First thing he says, asocyananva sochastvam pragyavadansya bhasashe gatasuna gatasansya nanu sochanti pandita. He says, a wise man is one nanu sochanti pandita, one who does not lament, who does not have a crying face, who looks happy. So he said, you are speaking very nice words, because Arjuna was also giving a lecture. He said, you speak very wise, intelligent words, but you are crying, you are lamenting. So what is the use? It's like you have, your house is full of food and you are starving. So what is the use of having the food? So if you are intelligent, you are a wise man or wise woman, and you are unhappy, then what good is your wisdom? What good is your intelligence? So sign of wisdom is happiness. Right? Okay, thank you.
Just explanation.
Because what is the use of having so many things around you? You have relatives, you have family, house, car, big bank balance, and you are sitting in your house sad. But you may not have many things around you, you may be living in a simple hut, but you are happy. So which one you prefer? Of course people will say, well, I want all these things. Yes, you can have, but if you are not going to be happy with all that possession, what is the use? So this is what he is saying. He says, yadarthya adhyartheha karmani vidwan manya sakrinna. He says that somebody who thinks he is wise, vidwan manya means one who considers himself as vidwan, wise, intelligent, and performs activities for happiness repeatedly, but he does not get that. Rather, he gets an opposite result. Viparyasam amogham vindate phalam. Then he is not wise. So that's what happens. That most people, they are trying for happiness, and they end up in trouble. Yadarthe yat sankalpya atah sankalpitat viparyasam viparitam phalam amogham avashyam prapam. So we have desire, we make some plan that I am going to do this business, or I am going to work in this particular way, or have this person or this relation. And obviously our plan is that by that I will be happy. But then when I do it, the result comes just the opposite. So this happens time and again. So he says repeatedly, People do that. You get into one relation, does not work, then another one, and then you go on doing it. So then what is the problem? He says because these people, they are not understanding the cause of trouble. And that is ignorance of the self. So if I am ignorant and I meet another ignorant person, so ignorant plus ignorant will become knowledge? No. No, you will multiply more, you will become more ignorant. So one beggar meets another beggar and they think that they will become rich. So everybody is begging in this world for happiness. So then two beggars come together, they think together we will be happy. So sometimes they say that misery loves misery. So you are miserable, you get another person who is miserable, and then you think both of you will be very happy. So it does not work like that. So if you want to be happy, you have to be with people, those who are happy. And happiness cannot come in ignorance, although people quite often say that ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is bliss in ignorance. That is the bliss in ignorance. Means you become like a rock. You lose your awareness. Like people take drugs. They feel very happy. But any sane person understands that this kind of happiness is ignorance. No wise people wants that kind of happiness. But many people want it. So therefore ignorance cannot give us happiness. Happiness will come only when you are situated in knowledge, and knowledge begins with the knowledge of yourself. That is what spirituality means. That is the beginning of spirituality, to try to understand yourself as distinct from the body. So this is what you say, the Atmalabdha. That is the sign of wisdom. So sign of wisdom is, or use of wisdom is to know yourself. So that's at least Prahlad is telling. Sukhaya dukha mokshaya sankalpa ekar karminaha sadapnoti hiya dukha manihaya sukha brutaha. So he says that people in this material world have two desires. Everybody. And it does not depend what is your nationality, what is your religion, what is your gender, to which age group you belong, or social group, or your economic situation. Everybody wants sukhaya, happiness, dukha mokshaya, and removal of suffering. So if you analyze your actions, they are either to attain happiness or to remove suffering. Only these two things we do. So sometimes we are trying to get happiness directly, like you are hungry, you eat food, or we are trying to get happiness by getting something else, which is a medium. You work, you get money. You may not like working, but you know that when I get money, through money I will buy something which will give me happiness. So either you are trying to work for happiness or for the means of happiness. Similarly, either you are working to remove your suffering or to get the means that will remove your suffering. This is what human mind is doing, and even unknowingly. You may not even consciously plan, but at least this is what even unconsciously we desire. That I want to be happy, I don't want to suffer. Sukham me syat, dukham ma bhut. This is the cornerstone of Indian philosophies. Indian philosophies are not just philosophy, okay, he is a great philosopher, or what? What did he achieve by the philosophy? So philosophy is to bring you happiness and take you out from suffering. So he says that everybody wants this. Sukhaya dukha mokshaya sankalpa ihe karma. So this is the sankalpa, this is the desire, this is everybody's intention behind their actions. But he says that what we see, that is different. We work for happiness, we end up suffering. We don't work for suffering, we get it. So there must be something wrong. Right? If I want to reach some destination and I take a road, and then after driving, someone says you drive 5 hours, you'll reach there. I drive 5 hours, and instead of reaching that place, I'm even 10 hours away from it. So that means I am driving in the opposite direction. So I want to reach a place called happiness, and just opposite of happiness is suffering. So instead of reaching the place called happiness, I reach the city called suffering. So that means I drove in the wrong direction. But that's what we do not know. So that will only happen if you don't know who you are and where you are. When you are lost in the forest and you think that if I walk to east I will reach my home, but your home is actually on the west side. So you are even going far away, further away from your house. So this is because of ignorance. So the root cause of our suffering is ignorance of ourselves, knowledge of ourselves. And all other actions, they become mired with ignorance if I don't have knowledge about myself. So he says, Sukhaya dukha mokshaya sankalpaiya karmina, that all beings, karma means all people who are doing work, they are performing work only for these two things. Sadapnoti ihaya dukkham. He says, but by their desires, they are always ending up in suffering. No matter what you do, sooner or later, everything ends up in suffering or frustration. So, anihaya sukhavrita. But if you give up the desire for material objects and this whole idea that I will become happy with material objects, then what will be the outcome? He says you will become happy. So, anihaya hetoho sukhavrita suparipunasya. Asahi paramam dukkham nairasyam paramam sukham. So this desire that I will become happy by acquiring some material objects, material possessions, this, he says, is the root cause of happiness, unhappiness. You give that up, you are happy. Kaman kamyate kamir yadartham iha purusha savaidehastu parakyo bhangaro yasi upayaticha. Then he gives one more logic. He says that you desire material objects, and those material objects are meant for body. Right? Whatever it may be, food, sex, money, house, it's all for the body. But the body itself will leave you. So then what happens to all your possessions? When Alexander was dying, he became enlightened. So he had three wills. He said that when I die, he knew that he is going to die. So he became sick, came to India and got bitten by mosquitoes. Malaria. Right? And that. Maybe diarrhea also. Came to India, that was his last stop. And he went back and he died. At least he came to India. But he learned something from India. So he said that I have three wills. And those wills are that when I die, he says my dead body should be carried by the topmost doctors. Not my family members, relatives. He says doctors will carry my dead body. That was number one. Number two, when I am dying and my body is being carried to the grave, then there should be people throwing coins on my body. And number three, he says that my hand should be kept outside the coffin. So usually that is not the practice. You keep your hands inside. So his hands should be hanging outside. So everybody was very surprised. They said, what kind of will is this? People thought he's going to will his kingdom or his wealth or all these things. So he said, I don't care about that. He became renounced. So then they asked that why you want to do this? So he says, this is to educate people. Number one, he says the best of the doctors are carrying my dead body. That means they cannot protect you. You think that doctor will save your life. He says, I had the best. They could not save me. So death is inevitable. So always remember this. You can remember two things in your life, then your life will change. Number one, death. Number two, God. So if you can just remember this, that I will die. And this is not something imaginary or something out of this world. This is a fact. If something is certain, that is death. About other things we are not sure. But one thing is very sure, that I will die. So he says, remember this. And number two, remember God, because He is the one who is everywhere. So therefore Alexander said, let people know that death is inevitable. And number two, he says, people are very fond of wealth. He says, I plundered so many places, I got so much wealth. I don't carry a penny with me. Even they are throwing it at my coffin, I am not going to carry it with me. I read a joke. There was some man died and there were two friends of him, Christian. So they were going to the funeral. They had a friend, Jewish friend. So they said, this guy died, we are going there, would you like to join? He says, yeah, why not? So he came with them. So there was a special custom that everybody who was there, they were putting some money on the dead body, on the coffin. So these two friends, each one of them, they put 50 euro. So the other guy, he thought, well, since they are doing all, I also have to do it. So he took out a checkbook and he wrote a check of 150 euro and put on the dead body and picked up these 100 euros. So he was smart. Because the guy who's dead is not neither going to get 50 euro nor the check. So he didn't want to feel left out that I didn't give anything other my friends are giving. At the same time, he didn't want to lose money. So that is Jewish intelligence. So therefore, Alexander, he was showing that how no one carries even one penny with him or her when someone dies. And then his hands were out. He wanted to show that, look, I am going empty hands. People think Alexander the Great, I own the earth, I own this kingdom, I own that kingdom. So many people behind me. He says, I go like this. So in Hindu there is a saying that when a child is born, he is born with closed fists. The baby's fists are closed. When a man dies, he is empty. So this is what he is trying to say, that kaman kamayate kamayi yadartham niya purusha savai dehastu parakyo bhanguro yati upaiti. It says that you desire everything ultimately for the sake of the body. Whatever you are doing ultimately, even your happiness is for the sake of body. He says, but this body does not belong to you. And the proof is that when you die, the body will remain here, you will go. That's why he said this guy kicked the bucket. Or he is gone. So who is gone? So the self, the Atma, leaves and the body remains. And it is for this body that we perform all kind of legal, illegal, sinful activities. But body remains here. So for the very body for which we do all kinds of things, we tell lies, we cheat others, we deceive, we may steal, we may kill others. This very body will leave you one day. So why do such things? So therefore, remember two things. So there is this Doha by Narayana Kavi. That's दो चीज याद रखो, होगा तो कल्याण. नारायण एक मौत को, दूजे तो भगवान. So if you can remember these two things, at least one thing, that our body is temporary. So this is what Prahlad is saying. Kaman kamyate kami yadarthamiya purusha savai dehastu parakya. He says this body is parakya, means it belongs to others. Others means when the body dies, then if you bury it, then worms will eat it. If you throw it outside, then vultures, jackals, some carnivorous animals will eat it. If you throw it in water, then maybe some fish will come and eat it. So it is for others, not for you. So yati upaiti. This is the ultimate destination of this body whom we love so much. So this is knowledge which he is giving to his friends. कामे कर्म भी अपैति नश्यति उपैति पुनरपि दुखदानार्थम उत्पाद्य. So body, by the karma, material actions, it attains something, or you attain this body by as a result of karma, and then it is destroyed. And outcome is just, it gives you dukkha, the suffering. किमु व्यवहितापत्यदारगारधनादयः राज्यं कोशगजामात्य भृत्याप्ताममतास्पदः. So he said, if this is the situation with the body, which is the closest to us, then what to speak of things which are a little bit removed, such as your children. They are not as close to you as your body, or your wife, or your house, or your wealth, or your kingdom, or treasury, or elephant, which means cars, bicycles, or other gadgets, and your ministers, if you are a king, your servants, relatives, or any other object of attachment you have, they are even removed further away than the body. So body is the closest to you, and even this body is not yours, then what to speak of things which are not even as close as your body. So these are some very important points which he is making, which one can meditate upon, because this is a reality. It may not appeal nice to hear this, but this is the bitter truth. Sometimes bitter food is good for liver. If you eat Karela, then Ayurveda says it is good. You may not like the taste, you may like sweets, but then you get diabetes. By eating Karela, you will never get diabetes. So this is the bitter truth. By hearing it, you will never fall into illusion. There may be other statements you hear, enjoy, don't worry, life is like that, this is the truth. So you may do that, but ultimately you will be in trouble. So this is what he is trying to instruct to his friends. And we will stop here if there is any question on this.
You said that eternal happiness can only come from eternal.
Yes. Don't you think so? Don't you think?
Yeah, well, I'm just... So there is this... So that means it cannot be compared, or there is no point of comparison between eternal happiness and the experience of eternal happiness with the sukha or the material happiness in this world.
No, there is no comparison.
So when the Shastra speaks of sukha and ananda, these are two completely different categories.
Yes. So just like I said, one is like 0, another is a positive number. So there is no comparison.
So when Krishna, now you quoted this verse, 1 and 3, from lamenting and anchoring, is happy. So that is material happiness. That is not ananda.
Well, the idea is that you cannot be free from material desires unless you have spiritual desire. Because you have to give something to the mind. Mind always has thoughts and desires, emotions and feelings. So either you can have material or you can have spiritual. So when it is said become free from desires, which means become free from material desires and have spiritual desires. So whenever it is said that you become happy without desire, meaning that you have no material desires and you have spiritual.
So because it is an eternal happiness, it comes from the eternal, it doesn't dwindle, it's not disappearing.
It cannot disappear. So there is no reason for it to disappear. For material happiness there is a reason to disappear. And the reason is that the matter, the object itself changes. Your senses, they change. Your mind also changes. You like something, you eat it. So first bite gives you happiness, second bite maybe half of the first bite, third bite may not give you any happiness because your mind changed.
Now, your statement that the intelligent man is the one who smiles all the time. Now, most of the pictures we see of great spiritual personalities, they look rather sober and serious.
That's when they smile.
See a smile on their face.
Therefore, you look at Krishna. Smiling all the time.
All right. Then he's the only intelligent one.
Yes. That's why he says that you worship him. Other people, you see, they are serious because they are trying to reach him. Yes. They are serious about him. They have become serious about the real business. That's why they look serious.
Now, when Krishna says in Gita that in Sattva Guna you become conditioned by happiness.
That is material happiness. But that is also conditioning. That's what he's saying. That conditioning will give you suffering. Any conditioning will bring suffering, frustration.
So that happiness that is generated in Sattva Guna comes from knowledge of
it comes from the mind becoming peaceful, undisturbed. But then there will be so many situations which will destroy your mind. In this material world, things keep on changing and everything is not according to your desire. So then you'll be irritated by it. Because you are so attached to peace. Sattvic happiness means being peaceful, renounced, having no responsibilities, no cares. So to live that life is also not easy.
If I'm crying because of an emotional situation, it means I'm suffering. If I'm suffering, I cannot be happy. If I cannot be happy, I'm not intelligent.
Yes.
So, what can I do?
So you don't have to be emotional about material things. But there's no need to be emotional about material things. If you want to be emotional about God. So don't waste your emotions.
Easy to say.
Yeah, it's easy to say because we have been practicing all the time the wrong way. That's why I said that this you may not like to hear because this is a bitter truth. It's like a medicine for the sick people. People in the material world are sick because of ignorance. Like you are lying in the bed, lazing around, somebody wants to wake you up, you don't like it. But the person is actually trying to wake you up. So this is waking up call. So you may not like it, but this is what the truth is. Otherwise we are just dreaming.
So this happiness and suffering material is proportional to the grade of desire, of intense desire that we have.
Yes.
Enjoyment. So then, now in heaven, for example, you say that there are different gradations in heaven. People are ambiguous and they have also this conditioning because of
Because they go there, they want to enjoy.
Just want to
Why do they go to heaven? Not that they want to do some welfare to somebody.
So then you need to bring to zero the desire to
I said zero means you have to have spiritual desire. You have to have desire for service. That's why he says you worship, you serve the Lord. He's not saying bring your desire to zero. Say that you give this up and Bhakti ayakya isham bhajata. Okay.